All right. So thank you for coming out for Night at the Museum. We have Dave Willauer, who is a board member at the Historical Society, who is going to show us some really neat artifacts and different things at the museum that you can't quite see right now because of all the COVID restrictions, but we're still giving you a way to find it. So we do ask, as usual, that while Dave is talking, you keep yourself muted. So I am going to turn everybody's mics off at this point, and if you could keep yourself muted until we're ready to open that back up at the very end, that would be great. Dave is going to be taking questions throughout, but we would rather you put them into the chat. So I will ask them on your behalf once we see them come through. Don't be shy with them. I'm sure the interaction is going to be what part of what makes this night so awesome. So definitely put your questions into that chat feature, please. I do want to point out that we're recording this program tonight. So if you want to show it to anybody later, or you would like to rewatch, just shoot me an email and I'll be able to send you over that recording. Also, while I have your attention, I'll point out some programs we have coming up at the library. Next Monday, we have Paul Zigo coming back to talk about Woodrow Wilson and America's first attempt at establishing a new world order. That is Monday the 11th at 7. And then that Wednesday, we have Marcy coming back from the Mutter Museum to talk about body modification. So that's going to be like foot binding and corsets and all of those things that some of us are grossed out by and some of us are really infatuated with. Then the following Monday, we have Mike Jessberger coming back again for the much requested program, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and the Hessians. So if you'd like to register for any of these, go onto our website or our Facebook page and you can find the registration links for those there. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dave. The easiest way to see him would be I'm going to spotlight him onto your screen. So it's going to stay on him, but you can either go between the speaker view or his view. I would keep him large though, because we're going to have some artifacts here. So take it away, Dave.
Thank you, Kelly. I really appreciate the ability to do this, and we thank the library for hosting this and enabling us to do some of our programs that we aren't able to do right now, again because of COVID and being sheltered and so on. So we appreciate that. We welcome everybody. On behalf of Amy Demchek, who is the president of the Historical Society and the board of directors, I certainly want to welcome you to tonight's program. And if you are thinking that we're going to be taking a tour of the museum, unfortunately, we don't have the capability to do that, to be able to carry a camera with us and have the sound and everything. Maybe someday we'll be able to do that. But the purpose tonight is for me to just, coming off of Christmas, show you some of my favorite things here at the museum, some of the things that catch my eye, that are kind of touchstones for me. And I also want to share some of the new acquisitions that we've gotten here at the Historical Society as well. We are currently open by appointment only. We encourage you to schedule an appointment if you'd like to come in and do some research or you'd like a tour of the museum. You're very welcome to do that. We're currently open on Fridays from 11 to 3 and on Sundays from 1 to 3, although we can arrange additional days and times at mutual convenience. Encourage you to email us at the Society. The email address is info@ and then our initials SFAHS, Springford Area Historical Society.com. So info@sfahs.com. And also, even though you can't come in the museum, you can still check in with us on our Facebook page. Bill Bruner is excellent with posting 5 or 6 posts a day, generally on Facebook, and we get a lot of exposure on our Facebook page. You can also check out our website, www.sfahs.com, and we have a blog on there with a lot of different blog posts that go into a little bit more detail than we're able to do on Facebook. If you're not a member, we would encourage you to become a member of the Historical Society. It's only $15 for an individual member for the whole year. You'll get our quarterly newsletter, $25 for a family membership, and $50 for a business membership. So, first of all, I want to talk about where we are, where I am. right now, and I am at the Historical Society on Main Street in Royersford, for those of you that don't know. And I lost my PowerPoint. We'll have to boot that back up. We tried to reboot because we were having some trouble with a document camera earlier. But I have some pictures of the museum that I would like to share with you. That is opening up. All right. There we go. Now let me share my screen and you'll be able to see those same images, hopefully. All right, there we go. This is 526 Main Street. We're thinking that this is in the early 1900s. It was after the 1910 addition was placed. There was an office that was added to the right side of the farmhouse, and there was a wraparound porch that was installed at that time also. This is what the Historical Society looked like last summer with mature hedges out front. Those mature hedges have been removed. We're trying to spruce up the place a little bit. And I got a little bit of a higher elevation to take this picture because we have a new porch roof at the cost of about $10,000. 110-year-old porch roof was taken off this summer and replaced with an aluminum porch roof. So that was a major project for us here at the museum. Another shot before the shrubbery was removed. There on the right side, you can see that addition, that 1910 addition, in addition to the wraparound porch. And this is what it looks like today with the new porch roof and the shrubbery removed and some planting beds there. Again, we're at 526 Main Street. The house was built, it's the fourth oldest house in Royersford. It was built in 1861 by William Lewin, his wife, Rebecca Custer Lewin. Custer is a familiar name in the area also. The Custer House down on 2nd Avenue is the oldest house in Royersford, and his wife, Rebecca, was a Custer. They bought either 31 or 41 acres in Royersford. I forget what the number is. And they bought that from the Custer family. Probably got a good deal since he married into the family, I guess. And this is one of the earliest pictures we have of the house. You can see there are shutters on the house there. It's before the wraparound porch. It's before the kind of cool. Here's a picture of their son, their oldest son, J. Milton Lewin. Quite a popular person in the area and quite an important person in the area. Had a lot to do with the founding of Royersford. His father made him take up a trade. He apprenticed under a shoemaker. And this is a sketch of the shoemaker's shop that was right in front of the house on Main Street, right here in front of where I'm sitting now. It was a little 12 by 12 building, and he was pretty much the only game in town as far as shoes were concerned. He had quite an inventory on the second floor in the loft of that building, and was able to provide shoes for the populace. We still have that cobbler shop, and it is connected to the house in the back, and that is the cobbler shop. Here's a view of the door that goes in, and there's a view here of the interior of the cobbler shop also. And that's something that you surely want to visit when you come to the museum.
Dave, we did have a question.
Sure.
It was a couple pictures back. What was a road or their driveway in the early picture?
The postcard picture?
It must be, yes.
This one?
No, one more. Yes, that one.
Okay, let me go back again. Yeah, I think that was just a driveway. There was another house that was built to the right, and if you go one, that's currently where Calhoun Jewelers parking lot is, where that driveway is that you see on the postcard. If you go one building over, then that's Calhoun Jewelers on the corner.
I just thought it looked like maybe a road that no longer exists that did become a parking lot or a driveway.
Yeah, I don't, it was pretty close to Fifth Avenue, so I don't think it would have been another road. And it does go back to a shed there, you can see.
Yeah.
And it looks like there might even be another outbuilding or a barn back there. So interesting. So in addition to the cobbler shop, we have this picture that Bill just posted on Facebook not too long ago. And this is from Walnut Street. If you look in the middle, I don't know if, can you see my pointer here?
Yes.
Okay, that's the town clock. All right, that's at 4th and Main. So that's the clock tower. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But this is the Lewin barn over here on the right side of the picture. And whoops, we still have that barn. And that's our gallery, our Fedorov gallery. So we have our stove collection in there of stoves that were made in Spring City and Royersford, in addition to uh, industry, in addition to the schools in the area, and our new military museum, which is on the 2nd floor of that building. Another shot of the gallery with the Fernwood Cemetery sign, which the developers were going to trash, and somebody from our society rescued that, which we were really pleased about. All right, my document camera still isn't working, so I'm going to shut that down so it doesn't compete here. And I'm just going to have to hold up the items that I was going to show to you. So let me switch back to, there we go. So the first item that I want to show you is a recent acquisition that we got here at the museum. And this is a Grander Stove Company plate or plaque. And this would have been placed on the stoves. I can show you exactly how it would have been used. And Bill Bruner was able to secure this on eBay. He was a successful bidder. We'll show you the eBay. Here we go. All right, there's the item listed on eBay. The starting bid was $10, $9.99. And I think, Bill, we got this for $25.01, if I remember correctly, $25.01. So we were excited to get that. The Grander Stove Works, Grander's Rogers was established in 1880, as you can see there in this graphic. It changed its name to Grander in 1882. Now, we go back to John Milton Lewin, all right, the oldest child of the Lewins who built this house. He's listed as treasurer in the year of 1896. He owned a 1/3 interest in Grander. John Milton Lewin didn't just stick to the shoe business. He sold his shoe business. He was able to buy an interest in the general store of Rogers and Son. He sold his shoe business then to F.S. Brown. He used that money to purchase a 1/3 interest then in Grander Stove Company, where he was elected treasurer. Then he repurchased his shoe store at sheriff's sale and had a big grand opening. And as part of that grand opening, or maybe it was a year later, he published a booklet called The Archives of Royersford. And it's an early history of Royersford. And it's a great book. It really is. A lot of great photography in there. And it's a must book that is a must if you're doing any research into the history of Royersford. Lewin was also connected with the Royersford Iron Foundry, the Penn Glass Company, Keystone Meter Company, Enterprise Hosiery Company. The man was busy. He was involved in a lot of different things. He helped to organize Fernwood Cemetery. He was also a director of Industrial Savings Bank, the Home Bank, and the National Bank of Royersford. In 1923, at the age of 70, when we might be thinking about retiring, he packed up his bags and he left Royersford for the Isle of Pines and purchased a grapefruit plantation, of all things. That went bust, however. The island was hit by a tidal wave and wiped everything out. He then resurfaced in Philadelphia, where he opened a cigar store. That was his last business venture. And he came back to the town in 1929 in hopes of celebrating the 50th anniversary of the founding of the town. He had a speech all prepared, but was not on the program and never delivered that speech. He did come back one more time. However, However, he was not alive. It was after he died at age 85 from a heart attack. He had a stove named after him. You can see the Milton single heater that is here. And then you also see an engraving or a sketch of the Grander Stove Works, which is down on First Avenue. You can see the railroad tracks there as well.
Dave, just be careful with your papers when it ruffles against the speaker.
Oh, the microphone there? Okay, absolutely. Thanks.
Mhm.
We just had a contact right before Christmas from a woman in Conshohocken, and she sent us some pictures of this stove, which was made at Grander Stove Works, and she would like to donate it to the Historical Society. That stove is currently in her basement. It needs to be disassembled and then reassembled when it gets brought back here to the museum. So we'll be making arrangements to do just that. This is not a very good quality picture that she sent, but if you look at the base of the stove, you can see where it is right here. Okay, that's where that Grander stove plate would have appeared on the stove. This model is called a Star Bride. It's one that we do not have in our collection. There's some warming areas at the top of the stove. This is the surface with the stove plates. And this is one that's similar to it that we have in our collection called the Home Bride. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back a second. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. All right, so we're excited about that. If you'd like to help disassemble that stove and help to move it to Royersford, send us an email and let us know. We'll put you on the list of volunteers to do just that. The next item that I'd like to share is another recent acquisition, and this is a really cool thing. It's right behind me, and it is this Sidney Quinn oil painting. We get a little bit of a glare there from the overhead lights. I do have some close-ups that I'll share, and you'll be able to see it a little bit more closely. This was a watercolor that was in the collection of Elsie Reed. Elsie Reed's son is Ken Reed, and of course, some of you remember Reed's Recycling that was in the town hall building at 4th and Main, currently where Downtown Bistro is opening. This particular watercolor was painted by Sidney Quinn, who was a resident of Collegeville and Schwenksville. Sidney Quinn is best known because he was an illustrator for Highlights magazine. Remember Highlights magazine? It was a magazine that you'd always find in the doctor's office or the dentist's office when you would go to see the doctor or the dentist. Sidney Quinn illustrated, excuse me, the Goofus and Gallant feature every month. And he also illustrated the Timber Toes. He did that every month. He did that for 40 years. Sidney Quinn started out as an artist, as an illustrator, found out that he was allergic to turpentine. So he could not do oil painting as a result, and moved into watercolors and also independent ink sketches. So he did a lot of illustrating for textbooks, illustrating for different publications, magazines, and of course, for Highlights. But he did a number of different pieces of artwork in the area. This is one that he did of the Royersford downtown, and it was on display at an exhibit at Ursinus College. Sidney Quinn also had a connection to Ursinus. I think he coached was either the volleyball team or the tennis team. I forget just which one it was. Elsie Reed saw the watercolor on exhibit, and she decided to purchase it. So that was in her collection until the time of her death. And then Ken Reed and his sister, Elsa, donated it recently to the Historical Society. So let's take a closer look at the painting so you can see exactly what that is all about. Here's a picture of Reed's Recycle Shop, 4th and Main. And of course, this is the building that the clock tower would have been on, and the other picture that has is since gone, since been removed. And here's a picture of Elsie Reed in the center and her two children, Elsa and Ken, on either side. All right. So here's a little bit of better image of the watercolor. It's a very whimsical painting. I love the background. I love the colors. And it's one that we want to make sure that we protect from direct sunlight so that those colors don't fade. And let's take a little bit of a closer look. Oh, let's take a look at the buildings that are featured. First of all, you have the National Bank building, which is on Main Street, the Town Hall building, and then just to the right of Town Hall is Dr. Tyler's house with that familiar dome. Probably seen that when you've gone down Main Street. You can look at the architectural details here of these different buildings. You can see how Sidney Quinn put them into his watercolor. We take a little bit of a closer look. You can see the National Bank building there in green with the red door. And just to the left is Zanker Jewelers. Now that's the old location of Zanker Jewelers. Calhoun's moved in there, and then they renovated the bank building at 5th and Main and moved up the street. This was further down between 3rd and 4th.
Dave, do you have prints of this anywhere that, are you planning on putting it on postcards or anything?
We are investigating the possibility of doing that. Just because we have the painting and because we own the painting doesn't mean that we have the rights to do that. So I'm in the process of trying to make contact with Sidney Quinn's estate to see if we would be allowed to do that, or just what that would entail.
Terrific.
It is such a really cool painting. Now you can see Dr. Tyler's house there with the dome. Notice how he kind of exaggerated things. He has some of the buildings at an exaggerated angle also, which is kind of cool. And if you look down, you can see Reed's Recycling window there with the familiar stone-lined doorway. It does a nice job of giving a perspective on the hill too, the slope of Main Street. You can see the railroad tracks behind the yellow pickup truck there. And I would assume this is the Spring Company down at the bottom of Main Street. So we're really excited to get this, and it's a large painting also. I don't know, let me stand beside it so you can see just how big it is, because you can lose perspective. So you can see it's a pretty good size watercolor. All right, our next item, and this is one of my favorites that I always look for when I come into the museum, is this copper cup. Does anybody know what the significance of this copper cup is?
Dave, was that the cup that was used at the public pump for pumping water to drink out of?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's the pump that was at Yost and Main Street.
Used in Maine. Yeah.
It was made by B.T. Bullock or E.T. Bullock. That might be a B. I'm not sure if that's a B or an E. B.T. or E.T. Bullock. And on the side of the cup, it says spring pump. And I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. Can you see that just a little bit? It's a shame my other camera's not working, because that was really giving me some great images. The other thing about this is there's a story to tell there with the hole that's in the handle. I think that I'm going to make up a story here, and I know you're not supposed to do that as a historian, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody shot it. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a bullet hole. Somebody said, I bet I can hit that cup down there on the pump. I'm not sure about that. The cup was given to the Historical Society by Bucky Walters. Bucky Walters came into possession of the cup. He was the last Burgess and the first mayor of Royersford. So the transition from Burgess being the head elected official in the borough of Spring City from Burgess to mayor took place while Bucky was in office. So let's take another look here at the pumps. See if I have a couple. Oh, there's the cup. There's a little bit better picture, a photograph of it. And there you can see, this is probably from about the hotel looking down toward Turkey Hill. And the flag company, the flag house would be over here where the Yost Farmhouse is. But here's the pump right in the middle of the picture. I don't know if you can read this or not, but this is an undertaker's office, the sign on the side of the building there. A little bit of a closer image. It's getting pretty grainy as we zoom in. There was at least one other pump in town, and this is a picture of the remains of the Spring City Foundry Fire, 1934, as you can see. And at the far right of this picture is the original pump from the Springville Inn. So you can see that over there on the right side. So I don't know if there was a cup there or not. The cup was discontinued, of course, probably during the time of the Spanish flu. You know, it kind of relates to our current times with the pandemic that we're experiencing right now. But with the influenza coming into the area, they got rid of that common cup. All right, another item, and I have a couple things that are connected. So we have the town cup, the community cup that was at the pump at Yost in Maine, donated to the Historical Society by Bucky Walters. So the next item that I would want to show is Bucky Walters' tri-corner hat. So this is his tri-corner hat. And when I took this off the display and looked inside, we have some of Bucky's gray hair still inside his tri-corner hat. And if you were around in 1976 when the nation was celebrating its bicentennial, you probably know all about Bucky Walters, because in addition to being an artist, Bucky was also a historian, and he would tell stories about the Revolution. He would talk about the Revolutionary War times, and he would also provide tours, mostly down at Valley Forge Park, in uniform. He would dress up in uniform. Now, I knew Bucky, and I remember him telling me that the way he got interested in history was when he would talk to his grandmother. She had spoken to her grandmother, who remembered the Revolutionary War troops coming through the area. And he said, that really impressed me, because there I am, one person away from someone who actually saw the Revolutionary War soldiers coming through the area. And I thought, that's pretty cool. So let me show you Bucky's uniform here that we have at the Historical Society. It was donated by his sister after he passed away at age 90. His boots are there as well. And I remember Bucky coming to the elementary school when I was a teacher there. And that was before I became principal. And he would give talks to the boys and girls. That's a good picture of Bucky. There he is wearing his hat. And he also would give tours at Freedom's Foundation. The picture on the right is him at Freedom's Foundation. Fleetwood Community Park is the other picture, came from the Reading Times. He looks pretty impassioned there. He was very dramatic as he gave his presentations. This was one up in Boyertown that they gave. He was involved in the program in 1975, which was setting the stage for the bicentennial year. And this is a cool article, because this is an article from a place, trying to remember where it is because it's cut off in this picture. It's a town that wanted Bucky to come, and they were kind of goading him into coming to their town. Bucky was not easily goaded, but if there was a paying proposition, he would probably take them up on it. All right. Bucky, as I said, was an artist. Here he is with Representative Sam Morris, and he did a painting of the Kennedy Covered Bridge there, you can see. This is a painting that he did of Zion Lutheran Church. This is another one of Henry Melchior Muhlenberg, who was a circuit riding preacher, traveling to different churches, including Zion Lutheran. He did some religious paintings. Here's one of the crucifixion. He also did a large painting of the Last Supper and would give talks on the Last Supper also. This is one of a scene in Birch Runville that he painted. And another one, Creek scene.
Dave, do you happen to know who the woman was that was in the picture with Bucky and Sam Morris?
I don't think she's identified, and I don't have a record of that. It could be somebody who was involved with commissioning the painting. I'm not sure. That was a publicity picture, so I assume it had something to do with the presentation of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about the Fedorov Gallery, our new military museum is on the second floor of that. We are in the process of getting a chairlift. Excuse me.
You know, Dave, someone actually knew the answer. That was his wife, Eleanor Morris.
Great. We'll make a record of that. Thank you. So we have our new military museum. Colonel Thomas McCabe donated his vast military museum that had been housed over at the Spring City Armory to the Historical Society. And we're in the process of getting that ready to open that up to the public. As I said, we're going to be getting a chairlift also, so we'll have handicapped access up to the second floor as well. But if you look at the back of the second floor room there, the military museum, you can see a painting on the wall. And that is one of Bucky Walter's paintings. This is Lutheran leaders, Lutheran Revolutionary War leaders. It was at St. John's Lutheran Church in Phoenixville, and they were doing some remodeling and asked us if we would be interested in the painting. And of course, we said we were, especially with our new military museum and military room. And this painting is really one of the centerpieces of that new military room. This painting was also called in other records as War Council at Valley Forge. And you can see that in the background there is Washington's headquarters. This is a little brighter picture. I wish I could identify all of the individuals who are in the painting. But if we look a little bit more closely, there's somebody that you should be able to recognize there, which is George Washington. So again, we're really happy to have that painting as part of our collection. And it's a large painting. It's larger than the Sidney Quinn watercolor that is behind me. The painting, the Lutheran leaders at Valley Forge, measures 5 feet by 7 feet. So that was a large work of art. And he did large paintings like that. He did a number of them, and they're in other public places.
And that was still Bucky, right?
That was still Bucky, right? Bucky did those. All right, so next item that I'd like to share with you, and this is can you guess what it is? Oh, fairly heavy. You back up so you can see it. It's too heavy for me to lift and back the chair up at the same time. All right, there it is. Any guesses about what this is?
Go ahead and unmute yourself if you've got a guess.
It makes sausage.
Oh, good. That's a good guess.
Yes. My husband Carmen gave me that idea.
That's a good guess. Not correct.
Oh. You didn't tell.
Apple sauce maker.
No, it's not a
There's hollow
sausage
needle
maker.
here on the end. That would make some pretty skinny sausage.
Yeah.
A little bigger than a pencil.
But it looks like there is a motion inside the Capitol that indicates.
Any other guesses? All right, I'll give you a clue. I used to use this. Some of you who know my family history may know.
Cream
Cake
puff.
A cake mixer.
Cream puff.
Yes, who said cream puffs?
Ralph Culp. I ate a lot of your cream puffs.
Very good. This, I have to tell you, whenever I see this here at the museum, it always makes me feel old, again, because I used it. And here's something that is a relic, you know, that's of historical significance that's in the museum. But this is a donut filler, an eclair filler, cream puff filler. The filling would be placed in here in the hopper, okay? Cream puff donut put on the hypodermic needle here, the big hypodermic needle on the end. And then you push this down and that would force, it would force the cream filling or the jelly, if it was a jelly donut, into the baked good item. And one of our favorite memories, my brothers and I, of using this was that when you would get to the end and you were filling the last eclair, the last cream puff, the last donut, if you had enough filling, you'd fill it until it exploded. And then you would say, oh, I guess I'll have to eat this one. So. All right. Now, I've got to show you a couple of pictures that relate to that. All right. So here's what the bakery looked like at about 1896. And of course, it kind of still looks the same way. The sign is still on the front of the building. That's the car that I learned to drive in, the 61 Chevy station wagon. The barn back behind the bakery was where the horses were kept and the wagon was kept before they had delivery trucks, when the deliveries were made by horse and wagon. And these are pictures from the mid 1940s. My grandmother's on the left, my grandfather's in the center, an unidentified baker on the right side. We're not quite sure who that is, but look what's on the table in front of my grandfather. There is the cream puff filler. A little bit of a different shot, but you can see it's right there. Now, I don't remember those bowls being that shiny and new when I worked there, but they were new in the 1940s. And that would be about the time that my grandmother and grandfather took over the business from Hosea, who started it back in the late 1880s, 1890, early 1890s.
And where was that building at again?
That's right beside the Liberty Fire Company on Main Street in South Main Street in Spring City, 26 South Main Street. So if you look at the front of the Liberty Fire Company, the bakery was right to the left of that. It's right across the street from the Spring City Foundry and Electrical Manufacturing Company. All right. Now, let's see. I have another item that I'd like you to try to guess what it is, okay? And I'll show you how this operates. This opens up and closes. Any guesses on what that is? This is from the late 1800s, 1880s, 1890s. Nobody, Kelly?
No, nobody. Does a potato go in there?
Oh, no. That'd be a pretty big potato. It's hard to tell size, but that's.
Oh, okay.
Here's my fist.
Is it used for crimping tin into a can?
That's another good guess, not correct. They did, I'll tell you where it came from, okay? This was purchased at the hardware store's auction, Maury Latchell Hardware Store auction, November 2019, when they closed their doors. All right, it's an agricultural item. Still no takers, huh?
No, you've stumped us. Ooh,
Oh,
it's
wow.
horse related.
All right, I'll tell you what it is. And I can understand why you wouldn't know. It's an asparagus buncher.
Huh.
So when you were harvesting your asparagus, you would put your asparagus in here, the stalk and the bottom end on this side, the heads up here, and then you would close this. You could tie it around either side. You could use this part to evenly trim off the bottoms, so it was a nice even cut. And there was, in those days, they made a tool for everything. They really did. So this is the, it says right on here, the asparagus buncher #2. So I don't know, it certainly was an improvement on #1, I guess, but it's kind of a cool thing. But I bought that at the auction only because I think it was cool and I didn't want to see it go. And I thought it would be cool to have here at the Historical Society. We do have a couple of other items. Brad, my brother, set aside for us when the hardware store closed. Let me see if I can get this. This book, you can see it's ancient, right? Leather bound. This is the earliest day journal at the hardware store. So the different sales would be recorded in the book by the person's name, how much the item was. A lot of times they would write down exactly what it was, when a payment would be made on account, all those kinds of things. So there are a lot of early names in here of folks who frequented the hardware store. The hardware store opened in 1875. This is 1876. So this is, the earliest day journal that survived the hardware store. And Brad donated that to the Historical Society. He also donated some original photographs that I'm going to be sharing a couple of those with you in just a couple of minutes. And he donated a big box of billheads and invoices. And, those would be the things that we throw out today. Well, they were works of art. They had beautiful engraving, beautiful images on them. And the other thing that's really cool is they give us a glimpse into all of the businesses that were in the area, because many of them are local. Yes, some of them are from Philadelphia, some of them are from Lancaster County, maybe in the York area and so on. But there were a lot of different businesses in the area that were flourishing at that time, again, 1880s, 1890s. And it's really cool to see those invoices. Bill Bruner went through the whole box, scanned of them, and they are in our digital collection. So we're happy to have those as part of our collection as well. We just got a new photograph that we had never seen before. And we're pretty excited about this. It is an interior shot of the hardware store. And it's from a Thomas Todd relative who lives out in Arizona. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was posted on Facebook. And it was identified, only the center person, Thomas Todd, was identified, and the date of 1907. Now you can see some of the stoves lining the aisle there. You have parlor stoves there on the right, and there are some other heaters that are on the left side, as well as some other interesting implements. It looks like there's a cherry cedar there on the left. There's some type of a scale. Couple of other things. Notice the coal scuttle that's hanging above Thomas Todd's head. There are baskets and so on. But the same floorboards are the ones that you walked on when the hardware store was still open, the same floorboards that are still in there today in the building. Now, when I look at the person beside Thomas Todd, to the left of Thomas Todd with a straw hat, I'm pretty sure that's a Latchaw. Don't know for certain, but that's probably Milton Latchaw, who would have been the founder of the hardware store. And he would have been in his 50s about then, which would be about right. These are other pictures that we have from the interior of the hardware store. You can see there's a heater there on the right foreground, seed bins on the left, some of the glass showcases and so on, filled with a variety of different items. This is another one. And this shows a lot of the lamps hanging from the ceiling. There are also some railroad lanterns hanging on that board in the background, but up at the ceiling level, kind of above the coal scuttles. Bunch of different different devices. Here's a rug beater, a couple of rug beaters over here. Very cool. And that's what it looked like after the auction. I did want to show you this too. This was the large safe that was at the hardware store. It was purchased by the printing business. It's just down the street where Grubbs Marine used to be, just to the right of George's Music. And they brought a skid loader in and took the safe out the front door. And that safe was so heavy that it was lifting the skid loader up in the back. So that was a pretty substantial piece of furniture. This was another picture that the same woman from Arizona just posted on Facebook also. And this is the A&P store. Now, that's the front steps of the Spring City Hotel. So we don't know. It looks like where the dining room is in the Spring City Hotel was at one point an A&P store, a grocery store. You can see the canned goods there on the right side, some different bags of different dry goods on the left, baskets of produce and so on that are there. You can see a couple of the prices, 19 cents a box on the left and 45 cents for that whole basket of peach basket of whatever's in there. 35 cents a head for cabbage. So we're excited about that. And this this image really reminds me to stress with you that, as you're going through things, as you're looking through your own memorabilia, the archives of your family and so on, if you see items like this that are of local historical interest, please contact us. We're happy to get the items, but with a two-dimensional item such as this, we're just as happy to scan it and return the original to you. You don't have to feel as though you need to donate the original photographs of two-dimensional items, because we're happy to take pictures of those and be able to share them in that way. All right. Well, those are the items that I have to share with you. I don't know if anybody has any other questions. Certainly, if you have feedback, there'll be an opportunity, right, Kelly, for people to give feedback on the program.
Yep,
And if
absolutely.
you would like to see more programs like this, we're certainly game for that. And also, if you have items that you would like to see, for us to talk about at the museum or other topics, we're certainly open to that as well, and would be very glad to share them with you.
Mr. Willauer, did you have a relative who was a jeweler on Main Street in Spring City?
There was a Willauer jeweler on High Street in Pottstown. Was there a Willauer jeweler in Spring City?
Around 1950. It used to be a restaurant. It was at 114 North Main, and the street level was a jewelry store. And
I'm writing this down. 114 Main.
North Main.
North Main.
And that's where I lived and upstairs above it at 114. My uncle and aunt lived in 114, 116. No, the other way, 112. But it's a double house, and underneath it, and the underneath used to be a restaurant prior to, I don't know, 40, 43.
How about that? I'm going to have to do some research. I'm
Yeah,
not familiar with that.
I
All the
think it was
Willauers are related. I've never
I'm
found a
sorry.
Willauer who's not related.
I'm pretty sure it was a Willauer jewelry store. We moved away when I was 8. But when I was 5 and 6, we used to go down and scrounge I used to go down. I was a little girl and I liked pretty things. And every once in a while, he would have a watch band that was no good and he would throw it in the trash. I just die. I was so happy and thought I had a treasure.
Oh,
So
that's great.
memories there.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I know there
Dave,
was a Willauer jeweler in Pottstown,
Yeah.
and we were related to them as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dave, the painting that's in back of you,
Yes.
the steeple there is from Royersford United Methodist.
Oh, is that right?
Yep. You can go there
Okay.
today. That has the exact design. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah,
Oh,
that makes total sense. Thank you.
Kind of.
Oh, well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But it makes sense that it would be there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. I'm going to make note of that as well.
Dave, someone wants to know what's in the medical books that are behind you.
I don't know.
It's like on the top right side of that first bookshelf.
Oh, okay. Well, I can take a look.
I thought they were family history. I didn't know they were medical.
You know, the
books.
one thing that I wanted to mention as far as what comes some of the resources that we have here at the Historical Society, we have all I believe we have most all of the high school yearbooks from Spring City High School, Royersford High School, Springford High School. We also have a number of the local newspapers that have been digitized. And so you can come in, and if you have an approximate date, you know, that you're looking for something, you can go through those newspapers in a digital way and find different articles, advertisements, and things that you're looking for. I'm currently in one of the front rooms at the museum, which is our Joe Forrest Research Library. Joe was really into genealogy. I'm going to turn the laptop so you can see these binders over here. These are all family binders with genealogical information in. And that would be a great start, you know, if you're doing family genealogy, to come in and take a look at those. You can also send us an email and ask us if we have a binder with your family's name. We might not have the exact one, but we may have a maiden name or another name that's related to your family. So this is local doctors, dentists, and druggists. So this is filled with images and articles. Let me see if we take this down a little bit. So this is Dr. Brower, Joseph Buckwalter. Here's DeWitt DeBack, Dr. Glocker, and it goes on and on and on. This goes up to M, and then the other volume would be N to Z. This is A to F, but it does go up to M. So those are doctors and dentists who are in the area, and information about them, as well as photographs.
Someone wants to know if Wilmer Beard had a store in the hotel. I think that came in when we were talking about the Spring City Hotel.
Okay.
A TV window in the 50s.
That could be. I'm related to Wilmer. Wilmer's mother and my grandmother were sisters. So it's possible that Wilmer did have a store there. Yeah. On the left side of the hotel, there was a beauty salon in there at one point too, I believe. Yeah.
Let's see. There is someone that wants to know if you're interested in old images of Bean's lumber. They have a lot from the early 1900s.
Absolutely. Sure.
Barbara, that's a yes. All right, that is all our questions. I think everything else is
All
just
right.
praise. Oh, Paula, by the way, this is the Springford Area Historical Society. I think you came in maybe a little after that.
Bill, did you have anything you wanted to add? You can unmute your mic. I see you now.
No, but it was a great show. I enjoyed it. I liked some of those pictures that I helped to create with the one with the Lewin stove and stuff. I looked at that and I got a great pleasure out of it.
Well, you've done a great job of restoring a lot of the photographs too. Some of the photographs that we get are not in very good condition, and Bill has a real knack for enlightening them and taking care of the creases that are in them and some of the missing parts. So, yeah, fantastic.
No, it was a good program. I figured out right at the end how to get my beautiful picture up there, but I'm sitting in the dark. I could roll back and turn the light on, but it's fine just the way it is.
Well, good. I'm glad you got to tune in.
I think
Yeah, no, I got here right from the beginning. I didn't miss anything.
Awesome.
Okay. I don't have to send you an email that you did a good job. But you were looking down a little bit. I kind of felt like I was sitting on my Uncle Dave's lap, looking up at his face. And I enjoyed that.
Oh, that's funny.
Dave.
Yeah, I think there's another question.
No question. Cousin.
Glass and broke into the Capitol and ransacked and looted it to the extent that they could, vandalized offices, assaulted police officers. Joining us now is our friend
I think
Larry Mulder.
somebody's trying to talk to the front now.
I think Sharon.
I think we're going to hear remarks from Senator Mitch McConnell, so we'll keep an eye on that. I'll be looking to see whether he will be talking about meeting out any sort of punishment against.
No, I just wanted to thank Dave.
Sure.
It was a wonderful presentation. And I don't know if you realize who I am. I'm Kitty DiBattiste, even though it says Catherine.
Hi, Kitty.
Hi. Church of the Epiphany has sold its building. And we didn't let people know, but I think there were some things that you might have liked to have had. And it's up for sale. And so I'm going to talk to some people and maybe we can donate something to the museum. I don't know how many people realize, but back in 1889, our church was used as a distraction. The bank was robbed, but they started a fire at our church.
Oh my gosh.
And then they robbed the bank. And when it was repaired, I can't think of the name of the company, but they gave us some of their sand or something for the mortar, but it had iron filings in it, and that's why it's disintegrating.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want some of that history, and I will have to talk to the people involved.
Yeah, that would be great.
Most of our stuff is locked away and, air protected, so it won't disintegrate. But we sold parts of the organ, the ranks, all of that stuff, the wood, but there were some things that might have been nice for you to have.
Sure. And we do have a number of things that have been donated by local churches. There are items in the parlor that's in the room right behind me. And we also have some items that are connected to our churches that are out over in the gallery too.
And our nursery school was a big part of the community from the 60s on.
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
they always did a great job with the kids that came to the elementary school, I remember.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
My children came through and they had you. You made my son what he is today. Trust me.
Oh, well.
When you made him the store manager, I will.
All right. Anybody else?
There's one person that's wondering if there's any local railroad memorabilia or photos over there.
Quite a bit. Bill, you can speak to that.
Jim, you might want to book an appointment then.
Yeah, if go follow us on Facebook because Bill often posts things about the local railroads, and go onto our blog because there are two blog posts, I believe, Bill, right? The railroad in Spring City and the railroad in Royersford.
Yeah, I got into the whole thing with the history with taking pictures of the railroads. I was interested in railroads long before I was interested in Spring City or Royersford. And I happened to be hanging around the train station back in the late 80s and taking pictures of trains coming through town. And the museum just had opened up. It was 1988. And Lawrence Shaner was there, and he come out and he tugged my shoulder and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Taking pictures of trains." He says, "Come on inside. We'll show you some stuff." And he showed me some of the old train stations and some of the postcards that they had. He was a postcard collector. So he got me interested in collecting postcards. That just became another hobby. And I collected postcards of trains and train stations. And then when I would go to a postcard show, I'd be looking for the train stations. And then I started buying Spring City and Royersford cards. And I'm originally from Phoenixville. Didn't get up here till I was like 14 years old. So I started collecting Phoenixville. So I should, and if I went to a postcard show with money in my pocket, I would spend it all. If I didn't find Spring City, I'd be buying Parker Ford. I just had to spend my money. But it was a great hobby. It got me into the Historical Society, and you know, I spent a long time there. I'm still spending time with the Historical
You
Society.
sure are. Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. I see that Joanne Messer is one of our participants. Also, her husband David was an authority on railroads in the areas and wrote a number of books, which are also behind me on the shelves. So
Do you have the newest one, Dave?
What's that?
Do you have the newest one, Conquest One?
I'm not sure.
Probably not.
No, we have them all on the shelf.
I can donate one. I have them in the house.
Oh, that would be awesome. Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you so
Conquest 2 is coming out also. But if you ever need his presentations, they're on the computer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know he did 2 programs for us, and the last one we got together because I was able to give him a couple pictures, and then he gave me a bunch of pictures to scan, and so I have them all on my computer.
Okay, well, everything's where it was before, so nothing's been moved. But
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
On that Bucky Walters tri-corner hat,
Yes.
I think I saw the green floral. Yeah, those things are called cockades.
Okay.
And they were popular during the Revolution, but they also continued to be made and popular all the way through to the Civil War. And sometimes they would have ribbons hanging from them. Other times it would just be a single floral thing like that one. But they were made in colors and patterns and solids and plaids, and they would represent organizations or political support for different things. So they weren't just a decoration, they had a meaning and they had a purpose to something.
I just want someone else to.
He has a pin on here also.
Yeah.
And the pin says, it's going to test my bifocals, Royal.
Hopefully it works out.
Royal British Legion, Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure it had some significance to Bucky.
Yeah, but that's what that green floral thing is. They're called cockades.
Cool. Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah.
Talking about Bucky Walters, when we went down to his house, well, his sister was there, and she took us up to the room, and we got the uniform, and he had shelves full of books about Valley Forge, all, you know, about the Revolution, but he was like a studying Valley Forge because she wanted to give us 4 boxes full of books on Valley Forge. And I think Joe Forrest, you remember Joe?
Sure.
He found a place down there. I don't know if it was a Valley Forge, something to do with Valley Forge that they took them down there because we would love to have 1 or 2, but we didn't need that in our library, you know, too many books.
Yeah. For sure.
Another Bucky Walters story.
Yeah.
I got my hair cut in Chick Bauman's barbershop back in the 50s and 60s, and Bucky was a regular customer also. And if he was there, I'd get my hair cut and stay just to hear him talk.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure you did.
Did anybody ever film him in some of those presentations?
That's a good question. I'm not aware of any, but
Be a
boy,
shame if they didn't, because boy, I never heard the same story twice. I mean, had a different
My stories are, the original story's still there, but it seems to get bigger every time I tell it.
Right. I think that is all of our comments.
All
So I
right.
can make this last call then, if anybody wants to chime any last minute things in.
Dave,
Yeah.
this is cousin Eddie, and
Hi.
Brenda and I just wanted to say hello and that we very much enjoyed the program.
Good deal. Good. I'm glad you guys could join us.
Yes, we'll be seeing you again sometime in the near future, I hope.
Hopefully, yes. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Kelly, again, thank you so much.
Absolutely. We really enjoyed it. And we're definitely open to doing more in the future. So everybody that's still on, you'll be getting a link from me later tonight on a survey. If you want to include in there whatever it is you want to see more of, I'll definitely see if we can arrange that with Dave. And I hope to be doing this again soon with everybody. So thank you all for coming out, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Kelly.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dave. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.